All right, this is what you call service with a smile. Keith Eliou is here, and he's actually going to be in the office later today. So any of the stuff that we're talking about, and I love talking real estate, and this guy is incredible at it. He's got a great resume. He can handle every aspect of it, bringing buyer and seller together. And I want to just give you this phone number, 412-921-7100, 412-921-7100. Now, assessments have been in the news of late. We were actually talking about it on my show the other night. So he has brought one of his many friends, network friends, that can help us with this question today. So, Keith, it's good to see you again. And why don't you introduce who we have as a very special guest in this first segment? Good morning.
Good morning. We've got John Silvestri on the phone with us, and he's going to help us and explain the case because he's the fellow that brought this assessment case against the county, and he's going to explain what the case is all about and how it ultimately can affect homeowners.
John, it's great to have you here. Good morning.
Good morning to you. It's a great morning.
Listen, lots of stuff to get to, so I'm going to let Keith begin, and if I have a thought or two, I'll jump in, but he's got some questions that he wants to get started with you, so go right ahead, Keith.
John, why don't you explain to the audience a little bit about how the case came about?
That's simple. Everyone in the real estate industry knew that the county's taxing ratio was wrong except the county. And as we watched the taxing ratio go up instead of down, as real estate went up, people really started to have heartaches over their new homes.
And so what is this common level ratio?
I call it a taxing ratio. If you buy a home for $100,000 today, it should have a tax assessed value of $65,000. What the county has done in past years is assess it at $87,000, and this year they want to assess it at $80,000. What they're asking people to do is to pay an extra 25% in taxes over their neighbors.
Well, how did the county come up with their number?
Oh, it's very simple. They do what I call tax cheating. The county is nothing more than tax cheaters when it comes to the assessing ratio. The way it works is the county reports sales information to the state government. The state government applies a mathematical formula to come up with this ratio. So what the county did is they stacked the deck against the property owners by reporting high taxing ratio properties to artificially inflate.
And so what's the status of the case at this point? Has the county agreed to change the taxing ratio?
In a manner of words, yes. What the county has acknowledged without admitting that they are wrong is that they will do a recount of all of the information they sent to state government. And hand in hand with the recount is that the support team for the lawsuit gets to audit what they do.
How long is this going to take?
The estimated time in the consent court order was 4 weeks. We are now 2 weeks into it. My expectation is it will really take about 6 weeks. So we have another month to go.
So sometime this summer, we should have a revised taxing ratio.
Yes, if they do it accurately, it'll be about 65%, but they're continuing to cheat, and I believe some of the cheating is unintentional from what I learned during the lawsuit.
So for you and me, if we have a home, how does our tax get calculated? Like there are 3 different taxes, right?
Correct. There's the school tax, which is the largest. There's the municipal tax, and then there's the county tax.
And what do each of those governmental entities do in order to come up with the tax?
They make a budget on an annual basis, except for the city of Pittsburgh school district. The other school districts make up a budget that begins on July 1st. What they do is they look at how much money they want to spend as a school board director. I used to be a school board director. And then you set the millage. And the political game is to be able to say, I didn't raise your millage.
Okay, so you take to calculate the tax, you take the millage from each entity times the common level ratio.
That is only for new homeowners. For the property owners at large, and keep in mind there are 580,000 tax parcels in Allegheny County. And out of that, a little bit less than 2% are the new homeowners who get their taxes jacked up by the assessing ratio every year.
Okay, but if to calculate the tax on my house for the county's millage 4.73, is that right?
That's correct.
So they would the county would take the tax assessment times the millage to calculate my county tax.
Yes, and your assessment carries over from year to year unless you are a new buyer. So if you are that new buyer of a $100,000 home, you should be paying your millage on $65,000. Instead, you're paying your millage, if the county has it their way, on $81,000.
Okay, well, what's this going to mean to homeowners if the common level ratio goes down, the taxing ratio goes down? Are we all going to get a tax break, or would the authority, the school district, say just raise their millage?
For the homeowners who have owned their homes for years, like I've owned my home since for 20 years, it'll be basically the same. If you look at how the county jacked up on the new homeowners and spread that over 580,000 properties, it would be a millage increase for the county of $6 per year. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that they raise millage, because it's not free money. It's money with a political consequence.
Hey, John, we're coming up on a break, so why don't you give everybody your phone number so they can call you if they've got questions?
John Silvestri, 412-512-4902, 412-512-4902.
Okay, well, thank you very much, John. That was very informative. We appreciate it. And if you've got any questions about your taxes on your home, call John.
A lot of respect for that, man. He's been doing it for about 40 years, so he knows what he's talking about, right?
He sure does.
All right, 412-921-7100. That's Keith Eliou. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about real estate, and we're going to stay in Allegheny County and pick up on some other things that you need to know. And he's got some really interesting stuff when it comes down to contracts as well. He's going to be headed back to the office after the show today, so if you have any questions about real estate, whatever it is, call him, 412-921-7100. All right, Keith Eliou is here, 412-921-7100. You can call him, leave your name and number, but he will be back in the office later today on this Saturday. I asked him during the break, I said, you're kind of like me, you're pretty much working around the clock, and he said yes. And I think Mr. Silvestri would say the same thing. I don't think the market has ever been as unique as it is right now. So what's happening in this real estate market to make it so unique, and especially right here in Allegheny County, Keith?
Well, there's still not enough houses on the market. The inventory is still pretty low, and the houses are selling fast. So what I did this week is I ran some statistics from the West Penn Multi-List, and I took a look over the last 6 months at how long it took a house to sell. And the average days on market was 49 over the last 6 months. And for the houses were selling at about 99% of the asking price. The average price was around $286,000 in Allegheny County.
That's the average price?
That's the average.
Okay.
And then I took a look to see what happened in the last 3 months to see if it's gotten any worse or better. And actually, houses are selling faster. The average days on the market are 44 days, and the average sales price is around $279. So, and it's selling. They're selling for over 100% of the asking price. That's the average.
Explain some of this stuff as far as, the time that it takes and how it went from 286 to under to like 276, I think you said. Why? And we're going to get to this flat fee model as well, which is an incredible option. But why do you think we've seen such a shift over the last couple of weeks? Why?
Well, we're coming into the housing market.
Spring.
Right, the spring market,
Right.
yeah, and so people are going to. Folks usually, if they've got kids, especially, they're going to want to sell during the summer. From June, for moving and getting the kids into the new school district. So it's coming into the market, and again, there's still just not enough homes on the market. And we're hoping that we see some more homes come on the market with maybe the moratorium on evictions going away. So we're going to talk about that on another show.
All right. What else? Let's talk about the flat fee model, something we talked about on your first show, which is an awesome option. Go ahead.
Well, what we try and offer is quality service. In addition to being a real estate broker, I'm an attorney, and I own a mortgage company called Advocate Mortgage, and I've done hundreds of closings, issued thousands of title policies. So I really know the business from the beginning to the end. And in addition to that, we've got special programs. They're going to save our clients thousands of dollars in closing costs. So we give them options. You can pick whatever you want. The flat fee option is more of an hourly rate option. I think it's a great option for sellers right now to save money. They could save thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars by paying some of the money up front, but keeping their options open so that you can always switch from the hourly model to a commission model. So you pay some money up front, and if you change your mind, you can switch. We guarantee you, no matter which one model you take, if you take the hourly rate model, you'll never pay more than what you would pay under a commission. And if your house sells fast, you're really not going to use that much time. And we also give sellers an option that I haven't seen other companies do. Maybe there's another company.
I've never heard of it.
We let sellers. We cooperate with sellers. I'm part of the multi-list. My company's part of the multi-list, and so we agree with everybody else in the multi-list. Hey, look, if you bring a buyer, we're going to share the commission with you. But a lot of companies won't share with the seller, and we just don't think that's right. So if I list your house for sale, and we put the for sale sign in your yard, and one of your neighbors comes by and say, "Hey, Rob, I know somebody that wants to buy your house," and you get their information. You call me and give me their information. I'll call them and I'll explain the details of what you're trying to do. So you're not really, you don't have to be uncomfortable about talking to the buyer.
You remove from the situation.
Right.
I think that's good.
Right. And then if they want to go forward and they want help, then we'll actually reduce the selling side of the commission by half if we help them. If they say, Keith, you're a nice guy, we don't need any help, we're good to go, then you don't have to pay half of the commission, the selling half of the commission. There's the listing half and the selling half. So we share with the seller.
It's the way it should be.
Well, if you're willing to share with everybody else in the multi-list, why wouldn't you share with your own client? So that's that's one of the, and we've got again provisions, programs where if you're a buyer, we love buyers. We'll pay thousands of dollars of your closing costs, up to $5,500 of your closing costs, if you want to work with us. So we try and give them value, and we try and give them quality service.
Listen, if you want to talk to him in person more about this whole flat fee model, he's going to be in there to tell you about this good option. Later today, he'll be in the office. Call him, 412-921-7100, 412-921-7100. One of the things, before we move on to some other things as far as be your own advocate and mortgage services and things of that nature, and also the latest on interest rates. The Fed bumped up the interest rate just by a bit. How does he see that unfolding as far as the spring market is concerned? But, everybody talks technology, and I'm a big fan of it, and virtual tours. I love to go on, those websites like everyone else. But the multi-list is still, it's the grand slam still, is it not?
Yeah, it's a membership. It's a club. And all the companies that join agree to help. It's called cooperation. We cooperate with each other, and we try and put deals together. And we've got all the information. We know what houses are listed. We know before they go on to sites like Zillow, or Realtor.com. It takes a while for those sites to, and when we list a house, it goes on those sites, but it doesn't go there automatically. It does go automatically, but not immediately. So when a house hits the multi-list, we know the minute it hits the multi-list. We have that data, and we can actually set up emails, automatic emails to you. If you say, Keith, I want a house in this price range in this school district with this many bathrooms, with this many baths, we can set up an automatic email where you get those houses as soon as they come on the market. And with what's going on in the market,
imagine the time that saves someone.
It's I mean, if you're looking for a house, I mean, if you're really intent on buying a house, you want to work with a realtor. because they're going to have the information. If you're trying to do this on your own and just rely on these third-party sites, you're going to miss a lot of houses.
See, I'm still a firm believer, and it has nothing to do with my age. I mean, I see my children are what I am. I want to kick the tires. I want to take a test drive. I want to walk into this house. I want to walk around the house. And look, pictures sometimes, they say 1,000 words, but they don't say the word that you're looking for that picture to say. I still believe it's important to actually have a walkthrough.
I think it is too, and I think that you're in some real risks. Now, I've sold houses where people have just had their clients look at FaceTime, and I don't know that you get the true picture of the house. And if I'm a seller, I'm gonna make sure that I put provisions in my contract to protect myself, so you don't come back to me and say, "Hey, you didn't tell me this." If you're gonna waive the ability to go in the house, and if maybe waive the home inspection, I'm gonna ask you to waive those rights in the contract. And you have to be an attorney to actually draft those things. You can't. It's the unauthorized practice of law. If you're not an attorney and you're drafting provisions, you can fill in the blanks. But other than that, I mean, there's cases out there that say that, doing more than that, that's legal work, and that's the unauthorized practice of law, which can get you in trouble. I mean, they haven't really, there haven't been a whole lot of cases, but, it's out there.
It's out there. Listen, you need Keith Eliou. You need to give him a call. Spring Market, lots of you are looking to buy, to sell. He can help you. Call him. Leave your name and number now or call him later today. He's going to be in the office for this Saturday. 412-921-7100. 412-921-7100. Back with more with Keith in just a moment. Boy, good stuff. Wish you could have been here during the break. I love picking this guy's brain. Lots of good stuff. Keith Eliou, 412-921-7100, 412-921-7100. He's going to be there later today. He's going to make an opportunity for you absolutely free. It's an AVM, and he's going to explain exactly what that means. But this is something that you're going to want to plug into. 412-921-7100. So what is that?
An AVM is an automated valuation model. It's not an appraisal, but it gives a good indication of what your house is worth, and it gives a range, a low and a high, and it'll give you, obviously the middle value, and it's pretty detailed. It's 10 or 12 pages. It's got details about other properties that are on the market, that have sold on the market. So if you're curious about what the value is, no cost, we'll run it for free for you if you want to give me a call today. The banks use it sometimes as an alternative to an appraisal. If you've got a lot of equity, you don't really need to spend $500 for an appraisal. You can get an AVM, and if you're going to get a home equity loan or a line of credit from a bank, they typically don't charge you these fees up front, but they have an early termination fee. If you pay off and actually close the line of credit, then you have to pay back whatever the fees were that they absorbed at the beginning. Mm-hmm. So you want to ask them if they're going to do that. We don't do lines of credit, but if you go to a bank and you want to get a line of credit, you want to tell them, hey, look, just use an AVM. I don't want to have you pay. If ultimately I might have to pay it, I've got tons of equity in my house. Just pull an AVM because they're like $35 instead of $500. Mm-hmm. And if you've got enough equity, it shouldn't matter. So you got to watch that. And even if they tell you, okay, that's what we'll do, get an email, get it in writing, so that if at some point in time you do close that within the next 3 years, you can pull out your email and say, look, you're charging me for a full appraisal, and the agreement was only for an AVM. And if they say that they're going to waive any fees like that, again, you want to get it in writing, because banks have the loan officers that banks don't have to have the experience. They don't have to have the training and education. They don't have to be licensed. You go into a bank, you could be a cook one day and then be a loan officer the next day at a bank. You can't do that in mortgage banks.
No.
So, just that's.
Well, and here's the thing. People have a lot of questions. Sometimes they kind of get pushed through quickly in the bigger brands, but when it comes to you, it's one-on-one and multiple questions for the multi-list, whatever. They just keep coming back. They keep calling you, right?
Yeah, we answer questions all the time, every day. People call us, and sometimes we can help them. Sometimes we don't have the product, like lines of credit, second mortgages. We only do first mortgages, but we've been doing this for 30 years, so we can help them and try and point them in the right direction. And that brings me to another point about people call us, and they'll say, okay, Keith, what's your rate? Well, I've got about 1,000 different rates, so it depends. There's 30-year rates, 15-year rates, 20-year rates. There's rates depending on what your credit score is, what your loan to value is. Now, the rates don't change every day. The costs for the rates do. So right now, 30-year fixed rates without points, but with ordinary closing costs, bank costs, administrative fees, processing fees, say about $1,400, you're probably at about 5 1/8. And that's not an APR. An APR, and people, they ask me about the APR, and most people, when they ask me, I ask them, well, tell me what the APR is, and I'll tell you what it is. Because somebody's told them, look for the APR. The APR is going to vary depending on the loan size because it factors in what your interest rate is, how much interest you're going to pay, and what the costs are. So if you've got $1,400 of costs and it's a $100,000 loan, your APR is going to be bigger than if it's a $300,000 loan and you got the same $1,400 of costs. So it's I want to know what's my rate and what are my costs. I think that's a truer picture. But credit scores affect your interest rates, whether or not it's a purchase or a refinance. And if it's a refinance, are you taking cash out or are you just rolling over your balance? We are very aggressively priced. We try and be the price leader. We don't do a lot of advertising, so you may not have heard of it. A lot of our business is repeat business, Advocate Mortgage. But if we do pre-approvals again all day long too, and we'll do pre-approval after pre-approval. I've got a couple that has been looking for a house for 2 years, and they keep making offers. They made an offer on a house that was $65,000. Now, this is closer to Philadelphia. $65,000 over asking price, and they lost.
Oh.
Yeah, somebody who paid
That'll
over
shoot you down.
over $100,000, and so that brings up another couple of points. Bidding battles. There are houses that get 30 offers. You don't need to be caught up in that.
No.
What you can do is you can make your offer contingent on the seller accepting your offer before the other offers. Agents will say, okay, we're going to collect all the offers and we're going to go through them. So submit your offers by noon on Sunday, and we're going to come up with whoever's going to buy that, whoever we're going to sell to by Monday morning. If I don't want to be in a bidding battle, I'm going to make my offer and say, look, the deadline for you to accept it is Saturday at 5:00, and it's like Shark Tank. I'm here. Pick me. Don't look at the other people. Either take my deal now or I'm walking away. And am I being truthful? I don't know, but I mean that's your risk. So if I come in and my offer is $50,000 over what you're asking, and I'm telling you, don't wait for the other people. Tell me now, or it's going to go away. You may just be tired of showing your house. You may be tired of having all these people go through your house, and you're getting what you want. If I'm a buyer, I'm probably, rather than taking a chance in a bidding battle, doing that. And so the agents are obligated to submit that offer under the National Association of Realtors. If you submit an offer under NAR rules, National Association,
they have to submit it.
Unless the seller gives them a written statement saying that they don't have to do that. And I really haven't seen that. Now, agents are either, if you do that, they may not submit it, but that's a violation of NAR rules. They're rolling the dice there. So, that's a way to stay out of the bidding battles.
This is really the first real estate type of setting I've been in where truly I can say you bring buyer and seller together. And to me, right now, or in any transaction or in any business circle, that's the way it should be. Being able to navigate and to answer questions on both sides and to make it a pleasing situation as possible. Because here's the thing. You get into a bidding war, Keith, you start to lose, especially if you're the one trying to buy the house, the love for the house. You start to really have contempt for the person that you're trying to buy the house off of, and the house loses some of its luster. One of the things that I've learned buying a house, there's a lot of paperwork and there's money involved, but it should be a pleasurable experience. And for someone selling it, knowing they're turning the page and moving on to the next chapter, it should be exhilarating to them knowing that they're going to be able to go on to that next chapter.
Yeah, you said something interesting. You said love something, and
right.
what people buyers are doing sometimes are submitting love notes.
Yeah,
and they're saying, please sell your house to us because we've got this great family, we've got little kids, and the public schools down the road, and the Catholic Church is not too far away, and NAR is taking the position that they really haven't taken a position, but they don't like that because that sets up fair housing claims. You commit something in writing that says, I've got little kids. Well, that's potentially familial discrimination. Talk about the Catholic Church, that's potentially religious discrimination. Mm-hmm. And so if you sell your house to somebody else, did the seller discriminate against you because maybe it's an older community and they don't want little kids, their neighbors that they are friends with, they don't want little kids running through the
yards. That's why you want Keith Eliou. He can break it all down for you. He's going to be in the office later today, 412-921-7100. Just tell the folks a little bit about you, who you are, because you're going to become familiar with our audience as we move forward. But I'd like to remind them that you've got the credentials and you are an attorney. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I've been in real estate for over 30 years. I've been a member of the West Penn Multi-List for over 22. And I got into the business through the closing business, the title business. I did closings, in fact, down in Beaver County across from the cemetery. We had an office. I used to work for a place called Midland Title. And after I was there for, 3 or 4 years, I thought that it would be the people in the mortgage business were making more money, and it looked like they were having more fun. So I got into the mortgage business. And after the mortgage business, eventually I started my own company, Advocate Mortgage, and then I became a real estate broker and joined the multi-list. So I've been doing real estate stuff for decades.
All right. He can answer any question. Look, if you want to get a question in here, you're putting your house up for sale or you're looking to buy a house, you got some financial questions you'd like to ask him, anything. Disclosure, you name it, we can handle it. Call us. Our number is 866-391-1020. All of those lines are wide open. So in this next segment, if you have a question for Keith Eliou, give us a call, 866-391-1020. His number is 412-921-7100, and he will be back in the office after today's show. Stay with us. Listen, Keith Eliou has brought in here today with me. I have in my hand, you can probably hear me flapping the paper by the microphone, but he's got the standard agreement for the sale of real estate and also seller's property disclosure statement. What I love about this guy, and if you've ever bought a house, the stack of papers, they usually sit you around the dining room table 9 o'clock at night when you're exhausted. You've had about 10 cups of coffee, and they're like, sign here. He's saying, look, you have to take time and read between the lines, put some thought process into this. And we're going to get into contingencies and more on contracts. But this is one of the other things that Keith does for you. He helps you negotiate and navigate these waters, and he's not going to put you up against that proverbial 8 ball. So people need to relax, especially when they're spending that kind of money, and they need to do it right.
Yeah, I mentioned this on the last show. You really shouldn't have a real estate emergency. You should prepare, and one of the things to do, cleaning up your house is nice, putting some paint on the walls. Okay, great. Yeah, should you do it? Yes, you should. But they don't. Homeowners and buyers don't spend enough time learning about the legal documents, the contracts. People say, well, it's just, here's the paper. There's paperwork to do. Hey, this paperwork has rights and obligations involved, and if you're not careful, you're going to either give up rights or acquire obligations that you may not want to have. And the time to look at the contract is not when you're making the offer. You got to look at the contract and read the contract. And we go over this stuff from the very beginning. When we get hired, even before we get hired, my conversations with clients or potential clients is, hey, have you seen the seller disclosure? It's 11 pages. It's got 22 different things that you have to disclose, and it's got explanations there of what you as a seller should do. And it's got information for a buyer, and the buyer needs to look at this before they make an offer. In fact, that's the reason for the seller disclosure. It's supposed to shine a light on where you should concentrate your due diligence. If the seller says, hey, the roof's new. It's not very old. I can't remember exactly when I put it on, but it's new. And then you buy the house and you find out it's 30 years old. Well, that's a problem. And maybe you didn't do a roof inspection because the seller disclosure said, hey, it's new. And the home inspector, has disclaimers. And if you bought a house in the last 2 years and you found out you had major problems after closing within the last 2 years, because there's a 2-year statute of limitations, you should call me, okay? If you buy within the last year, call me even faster, because the home inspector can be liable for gross negligence, not ordinary negligence, but gross negligence. But the home inspection law is actually, if you violate the home inspection law, there's a provision that says you violate the Unfair Trade Practices and Consumer Protection Law. And that law carries with it attorney fees, which makes it very nice for attorneys, because we can ask for attorney fees from the other side, and triple damages. Okay, so you want to. The seller disclosure law has language in it that suggests that you could be violating the Unfair Trade Practices Act, and some of the case law hasn't.
So another reason why I want Keith Eliou is because you're the first person that says that fine print matters.
Oh, yeah.
I've never heard that you need to really go over this with a fine-tooth comb. Usually it's the Post-it note or the little arrow or the highlighter. That's where you sign, and they just flip the pages.
Yeah, and again, the market will change what your negotiating ability is, but 3 pages of this 14-page document has provisions in it about the home inspection, which is heavily skewed in favor of the buyer. The buyer, the standard for the buyer, if the buyer changes their mind, is satisfactory. If they find that there's anything that's unsatisfactory, they can terminate the contract. And they've got a free play, basically. It could be for 3 weeks because you have a contingency period, and then at the end of the contingency period, you got another 5 days, which is a negotiation period. And if you get into that period, by the way, neither side can terminate the contract. So if you give somebody 2 weeks to do their inspections, 14 days pass by, you got another 5 days. And then you think, okay, well, at the end of 5 days, I'm done. No, because there's another 2-day period after that the buyer can either accept or terminate the contract. So if you're the seller, you got to look at this home inspection clause and really consider what can you do. Now, can you strike 3 pages of the contract? Probably not. So what do? I'm telling everybody, get a home inspection. And by the way, if you list your home with us, we reimburse you for the home inspection. Okay? So you're not going to pay more. You're going to get more benefit and have more information at a lesser cost. But we tell you, get the home inspection, attach it to the contract, and say, look, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, you can't terminate this contract for anything that is already contained within the home inspection. We've already disclosed it. We're selling you our house, and these are all the things that are wrong with it. And so don't come back to me in 3 weeks and ask me because you're not going to be able to terminate the contract based on that. So you better read the home inspection.
You know what, Keith? I find this absolutely fascinating, and I have learned so much just in 2 shows with you, and I can't wait till you come back next month. Just remind the folks about the AVM, and it's going to be free to them. If they call you later today, you'll be back in the office later today, 412-921-7100. Tell them about that.
Sure. If you're curious about what the value of your property is, we'll send you a detailed report. We can email it to you and give you all the information about what other houses have sold for and gives you a range of values. It's not an appraisal, but it's a pretty good detailed report that's used by a lot of banks. In fact, what else we'll do for you, if the next person that hires a seller or buyer to represent them did this before, we did it for 5. We're going to do it for 1. We'll do an estate plan for them. So we'll do all the essential estate planning documents, the will, the living will, the healthcare power of attorney, and the power of attorney, and talk to them about beneficiary designations and why they're important and help them set up an estate plan for the next client that we take.
Please give them a call. You can leave your name and number now or call them later today. Keith Eliou, 412-921-7100, 412-921-7100. It's been a pleasure. See you next month.
Great. Thank you very much.
Great stuff. Keith Eliou. Call him, 412-921-7100.
Think you have what it takes to be a part of a passionate team in a thriving industry? 84 Lumber is immediately hiring manager trainees in the Pittsburgh area with an $840 sign-on bonus included. 84 Lumber provides growth by making it easy to pave your own path within the company. They are proud to promote nearly 100% from within and help you create a career that you are proud of. Take the first step to building the career of your dreams by visiting 84lumber.com/careers to apply today.
PA Leadership Charter School, lead, don't follow.
See why parents like you are choosing a cyber education for their children.
Our lessons, it's like having everyone in the classroom, but little like boxes and faces. And then the teacher's the big box, and the teachers talk to you whenever you need them. You can just email them, they email right back, and they're always there to help you. I like it more than public school.
Now enrolling for the upcoming 2022-2023 school year. Visit PALCS.org. LCS.org. 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 LCS.